Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about a piece that I was involved in around, I believe, 1991 or maybe 1990, and it was in San Diego, and it was very much like a situationist piece, and the site and the context, because I've begun a discussion of context. The context for this piece was Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus was in San Diego, and this was like I said, this was the early '90s, and so elephants were part of the act. In fact, elephants, the use of elephants in the circus didn't cease until I believe 2016, so relatively recently. And of course, there are still surviving elephants that had been part of these performances, and there's a long history of use and abuse of elephants in circuses, as well as in other venues of entertainment. One of the early pieces of in early modern cinema was the demonstration of the electrocution. So the killing of an elephant by electrocution, and it's actually really quite horrible. And this is a founding moment in not only the aesthetics of what came to be modernist cinema, but the very technologies of the modern age, which included both the development of cinema and the technologies of execution as they've been used, by governments like the United States, not only to murder elephants, but to murder human beings as well. And so this relates to these kinds of technologies. Relate to both the violence of entertainment and the use of intelligent beings in acts of entertainment that are overtly cruel, right? And technologies of controlling and murdering human beings. So anyway, this act in 1990, 91, 92, probably 1991. Was a protest of the use, of elephants in the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, and protests like that, were ultimately effective. But obviously, there's a considerable amount of time between 2016 and 1992. So a lot of actions, require endurance, or one has to be in it for the long haul. And a lot of actions, require considerable sacrifice. And when I say sacrifice, I always mean self-sacrifice. That's always what I mean by sacrifice. And So this particular event, and the event itself was covered in the San Diego Union and other local papers, and some of us appeared holding protest signs and and performing the action, and but at that time, there wasn't any, certainly there was no immediate, there were no immediate ramifications either in the moment, there in San Diego, and the presentation of the performances of those elephants there, nor in the broader picture and changes in the policies that Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus employed in presenting their entertainment and their crafts. And there were other options, of course. There was Circus du Soleil, and there were other circus options, but Ringling Brothers themselves were slow in coming and recognizing the rights and of these intelligent beings, and slow in recognizing the cruelty of the forms and technologies of their entertainment. And so in that sense, the immediate action was unsuccessful, and again required time and endurance and duration to see any result, and required multiple actions, like-minded actions, across large, territories and expanses. I mean, in a lot of different, locations, in order for there to be success. And there are theories, of critical mass that relate to social movements, and they're worth studying, because I've done a few pieces on these ideas, but there's a kind of mathematics to success, and in some of these areas where one of my former teachers was very much aware of this, and that's Dennis Brutus. And one of the things that I learned from Dennis about action is that the most effective way, to accomplish a goal in the societies that are basically run with economic goals in mind, that is under capitalism, is to hurt those institutions in their pocketbooks first and foremost. And so, for example, those protesters in the last image, the success will come when there's enough motivation on the part of consumers, and also those who contribute financially to certain projects, to divest. And this was always Dennis's solution to apartheid in South Africa, was to find those sources of investment that were so important to the running of the institutions, and to harm them in ways such as contributing to international public opinion regarding the injustices and oppressions and violence of apartheid, so that individuals would withdraw their economic support of institutions such as he did this largely in relationship to South African involvement in the Olympics, but also campaigns in other areas as well. And so sometimes we think that the success will be motivated by the action, but really the success is motivated by the action's ability to inspire similar actions, and to build up enough of a campaign and like-minded projects, and they needn't, be, alliances that are fully formally recognized. The domino effect, will have the same function, whether it's completely mimetic or whether the organizations have, formal and structural links to one another. So that's always, been the project and the means, to make change. And the difficulty, though, lies, of course, in that great length of time, represented, in this case, by the temporal distance between the action in 1991 and the final conclusion, of the need for such actions in 2016 with Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus and the change in their policy regarding the use of these intelligent beings. And so anyway, so the that's all, I guess, preliminary for the rather brief anecdote that I'm going to tell. And so at this action that we're performing, and greeting people, and both handing out informative information about the way that the elephants are treated, and the history of the use and abuse of elephants in different kinds of situations, and engaging people in conversations. That's another strategy. And many people will be hostile, and then you to the best of your ability, you try to be polite, and sometimes people will throw your information back at you, or a lot of people will accept the information if you're polite, thinking that you're part of the circus. So you want to be as nice as you can be. At the same time, you're engaging these people in conversation, because there's people that are coming, mostly do know that there are elephants, and so they're not ready to agree with your part of the discourse, right? So you have to be pleasant, and that's always been a problem for me, is being pleasant. But in various contexts, I've been able to push it in a certain way, and I was pretty good at this one. So we're giving out this information, and we're engaging individuals in conversation, and we're doing our situationist thing, and it's very clear what we're there for. And then out of the blue, like all of a sudden, like this bus, and it was literally like a bus, or maybe it was several like pickup trucks, loaded with people, and they're all like these young people, and they look like they're out of like one of these Disney shows or something, or one of these boy bands, but there's there's women and as well, but they're these clean cut, like Mickey Mouse Club, Disney, whatever, sort of kids, and they start piling, and they're wearing these clean white t-shirts, and with Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus logos, and they have signs, and I don't remember if they had like candy or gifts or all this stuff, but they come pouring out. So we had a group of maybe like, I don't know, probably like less than a dozen individuals in our action. And then we're inundated by like these truckloads of and mostly white, but they're clearly like young college student age, or I don't know if they were college students, but these clean cut kids, and they come pouring out of these trucks or buses or whatever, and sort of inundate and swallow us up in this action, and they have and they're noisy, and they're loud, and of course they're all paid for, right? They're all paid by Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, to obstruct our action, and The funny thing was that it wasn't really entirely, even though, I mean, a lot of money and effort, had been, put into it, it wasn't entirely successful because, it merely drew more attention. The loudness and everything drew more attention to where we were and what we were doing. And there was even some confusion on the part of some of the attendees of the circus, and those coming to see the circus, regarding why this busload of hired youth were there, and some I heard I heard one of the circus visitors, say, yelling at one of the young kid performers, like, we don't care about the elephants, and they're like, no, we don't care about the elephants either. And it was kind of funny. So these types of strategies, are pretty familiar, right? And the way that, the best way to deal with them is to find, to find ways of sort of bringing the interference back into the situation itself. That is, redeploying the interference as part of your work. And I've done that, in various ways, and fortunately with Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, none of these kids beat us or attacked us or anything like that. So it was pretty mild. But certainly, the strategies that are used by big companies like Amazon.com and others, to bust unions are similar, right? And so deployment of misinformation and inundation with like counter information that diffuses and drowns out the message of those trying so sincerely, to make changes that better the lives of workers, and that save the lives of workers too, right? Because Amazon has just made $40 billion putting the lives of its workers at risk, in this period of COVID-19 epidemic and devastation. So one of the things, that we need to be aware of is to the importance of redeploying the strategies, and therefore informing those outside of the movement to unionize of the strategies, making those strategies public, redeploying the efforts of Amazon to destroy the creation of unions as part of the strategy to advance the success of the movement, right? And so every time that Amazon puts up an obstacle, it's important to reframe that obstacle in terms of the commitment, and challenges to continuing, and the endurance required, to continue